Wow, we've literally come here during epic sunrise light. Wow.
Welcome to the Grand Theatre. It brings the word public toilet to a whole new dimension, having a chat with your neighbour whilst you're doing your business. Why have you got a cat on your shoulder? We're Marianne and Chris, and we've been travelling full time since May 2018.
It is the best atmosphere ever!
Whilst attempting to drive around the world in Trudy, our home on wheels, this happened.
All British travellers abroad are advised to return now.
As borders closed around us, we decided to wait it out in Turkey until we were able to continue our adventure east. Good morning.
Morning.
We're up bright and early because today we are heading to the famous Ephesus.
Yes, we are.
We're going to get there, try and get there when it opens to beat any tour groups, if there are any tour groups with COVID going on. Marianne's already fed the local dog.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
Let's go to Ephesus.
Coffee.
We had a good night's sleep here last night. We didn't actually get a chance to look around the town, so we might come back here after Ephesus. There's a serious overlanding vehicle for those of you that want to go seriously off-grid. And it's nice and quiet this morning because everybody's still asleep.
It's very pretty.
It is a very pretty town. So we have arrived. Good morning. We have arrived at Ephesus. We think we are parked in the top car park. The sun is just coming up. It's freezing this morning.
I would say it's very cold.
It's 4 degrees maybe. So we've parked in the top car park because we've heard when we did our research that the tourists, the buses, the big tour coaches tend to go in the lower car park because there's 2 car parks. So we've come up here thinking we'll get in and get to some of the sites before they get too busy. It's 8:30, which is the opening time here in the winter. In the summer, I think it's 8 o'clock.
It is during a pandemic though, so they may not be open.
Well, we hope they're open. I'm sure they're open. And how funny is this? There's a stall here selling genuine fake watches.
Is that not the best marketing name ever?
Possibly. I should think a lot of people have photographed it and talked about it, but we'll see. Well, it looks like they're opening.
Hello.
And we're definitely the first ones here, apart from the local dog. Good morning, mate.
Hello.
You're definitely not fading away. The staff have just arrived, so we're definitely the first ones here.
Good boy. Is that your friend who's got food?
I think so. So entry into Ephesus is 100 TL per person, unless you have a museum card. Definitely, as we said before, worth getting. They let you into multiple museums, so if you're here touring around, it's definitely worth getting one. Wow, how many cats have we got this morning?
Morning.
Like most parts of Turkey. You know the tourists come here and feed you, don't you? Oh, I'm beeping.
Oh, look, it's so lovely. I love it, you know, and the security guard just turned up with a bag and all the cats followed him for a feed.
There is loads of cats. All of the cats are following us. We were first here apart from the cats. It's amazing. It's literally, the sun is just coming up. We've come at the best time and yeah, we've beaten the crowds. This is amazing.
Look at the light. Wow, we've literally come here during epic sunrise light. I suppose that's one of the tips for coming later on in the year. In the summer, the sun's up really super early, But now it's, what date are we? We're probably about the 27th of November. It's 4 degrees, so it's really chilly, but perfect lighting. Quite often when you come to ruins, it can be a little bit disappointing, but Ephesus is obviously one of the most famous ones because it's fantastic. Look how much they're showing, look how much detail, so much still is here. All the different ruins and all the different cats. Meow. And then up through this staircase. Wow, look at the detail here. You can see how beautifully it's been restored and maintained. Wow, fantastic. All these archways. Wow. And here's to one of the amphitheatres here. As we've been driving around Turkey, what's absolutely lovely is the trees are just starting to change colour and lose their leaves. And in this morning light, the reds are really showing up, which is lovely.
I can't believe we've got the place to ourselves. COVID and low season and early in the morning seems to be the perfect combination because we are literally the only ones here at the moment. It will be interesting to see how busy it gets. I don't think there's many people that get Ephesus to themselves.
I think that's the benefit of either self-driving or coming in a van. You actually are able to get there right at the beginning of the day before anyone else gets there.
Look how much these have been worn out over the years. There's literally the stonework here has been worn away.
I'm looking at this and there are so many beautiful pieces of stone masonry and work, but doesn't it just look like the most ginormous jigsaw puzzle ever with the biggest pieces?
You're getting a bit of morning love overlooking Ephesus. Coming this early this time of year, we're towards the end of November. The sun comes up quite late, and at the moment the lighting is not quite there. We're going to just hang out here at the top for 10-15 minutes just to get the best lighting because it will make a huge difference. The main street here through Ephesus, look, you can see it behind me. There's not one person in the shot. The library in the distance is just starting to be lit up with the golden sunrise that's happening right now. And it's going to look absolutely stunning in about 10-15 minutes when the sun just pops over the hill behind us.
We've arrived at the Celsus Library and it was the 3rd largest library in ancient times.
In fact, this library had the capacity to hold 12,000 scrolls.
The internal part of the library has only 2 stories, but from the outside, on the facade, there are 3. And that makes it look this glorious. Unless you've got a very good imagination, and I'm not one of those people, it's very tricky when you have a pile of rocks or some old pots to imagine how amazing or how the life would have been. But I've got to say, this library is just fabulous because there's so much of it. that is still standing, and the walkways around it, and the streets and the roads that would be going to it, you can really get the feel of how it would have been and how magnificent and enormous it would have been. So yeah, I really am enjoying this. Totally gets the imagination going. When we were researching this, we found out that in fact Mark Antony gave this library to Cleopatra. Now that is a sign of love. I have to say, my first present from Chris was a Dyson Hoover.
It's a very good Hoover. Originally, Ephesus was an ancient Greek city founded in approximately 1000 BC. It was later taken over by the Roman Empire and became a major Roman city. Ephesus was a massive city of ancient times, and up to 250,000 people lived here. In fact, they've only excavated about 25% of this city. You can see the crane behind me. They're still doing excavation work here, so who knows what they are going to discover in the coming years ahead. So Ephesus had a very advanced aqueduct system to supply water to the city, and you can see the drain holes here which will lead to part of that system under the main street here.
When you visit Ephesus, there are these boards dotted around with a number on it which indicates that you can get an audio tour, but on the boards they have the information in Turkish, in English and in German. So if you don't get the audio tour, then you can read up some information as you go around.
The city went from the mountain to this side all the way to the other mountains that you can see in the distance behind me. You can see how big this city was.
Coming up to some of the columns, look at it. It's like there's a wood grain in it. It's definitely stone, and it's got like glittery bits in it as well. It's very pretty.
Look how big some of these stones are. It's hard to imagine what it would be like walking around this place all those years ago. People, Romans dressed in togas, going about their day-to-day business.
It would be
that is the amphitheatre.
It would be very cold in a toga today.
Haha, it would.
Arriving at the amphitheatre, going up the steps, it's really high, and in fact it's hard to believe that how many people were here?
25,000.
25,000, and today there's just us, a cat and some workmen.
Welcome to the Grand Theatre. Originally, back in the Greek times, this was used to do performances and shows on the stage. But during Roman times, there were some gladiator battles on the stage. 25,000 people looking down on you. It is the biggest theatre, Roman theatre, I have ever been to. And there's nobody here, apart from the workmen.
And a cat.
And a cat. And Marianne. What's amazing is that Ephesus was originally built as a seaport. It was next to the sea. Today, looking at the view behind me, we're 3 miles approximately from the sea. Over thousands of years, the Kujuk Mendes River deposited so much silt that Ephesus became further and further away from the coast. And that actually led to its downfall because it was no longer a major port trading city. So So it's now 10:15 here in Ephesus, and we've only seen 2 other couples in the whole of Ephesus. I would probably say that during normal times, that is almost impossible.
As I said earlier, the different signs dotted around give you a little bit of information, and this one says the house of so-called pleasure. Well, I suppose prostitution was the first industry of the universe, so yeah, I'll leave that up to your imagination.
We've arrived at somewhere that is slightly different. We've arrived at the public toilets here in Ephesus. And they really are public. You can see literally males and females would have sat next to each other. It brings the word public toilet to a whole new dimension, having a chat with your neighbour whilst you're doing your business. Apparently, back in the day, the servants would have sat on the cold stones to warm them up for their masters. And what a job! You can see here, and then they would have had like a sewage system, the drainage, because there's channels here. Amazing.
I'm not warming up your toilet seat. Just for the record.
So we've arrived in the terrace houses here in Ephesus. They've got this massive area that is undercover where they've got some preserved houses. There would have been 6 dwellings living here. Look at this. It really is a wonderful thing that they've got here under this cover. We come up here now for an aerial view. There was lots of people living in Ephesus. They had major earthquakes in the 3rd century AD that put an end to these residential homes. As we've come up to the top here, you can still see some of the really ancient paintings on the walls and how it would have been decorated. You can see the grand mosaics on the floor. Save the best view till last. Look, they've got this glass floor in case you're scared of heights, and you can see the mosaics and the columns underneath, and then you get the view of the whole complex of houses and dwellings here. They would have had quite a view from these houses, looking down the main street here, the library just on the left, the theatre that we went to there, and Trudy's parked all the way up the hill to the top car park up here. Another interesting fact about Ephesus, it has a strong biblical importance. Apparently the Apostle Paul lived here and wrote the first letter of Corinthians here in Ephesus.
And in fact, love is patient, love is kind were the words that we used at our wedding so many years ago.
What's funny is the shop that we saw this morning, the Genuine Fake Watches, actually is a souvenir shop. It doesn't seem to sell any watches, so it's definitely a bit of a publicity stunt, but entertaining all the same. So we've climbed the hill, we've come back to Trudy, and we're just going to make a coffee, have a bit of a quick bite of breakfast cereal, and then we're going to go and try and find a very special church in this area. Wow, what a stunning view this morning. That's where we slept in the town there last night, and then after we visited this church, we're going to go up into the mountains to a village called Shorinje, which is famous for wine.
Not the mountains!
I don't know how high up the mountains it is, but we'll find out. So we've arrived at the house of the Virgin Mary. Entrance was 45 TL each plus 15 TL parking, and if you do have a museum card, it isn't valid for this particular site. So we've arrived at the Merem Ana Evi, and apparently the Virgin Mary, after Jesus was crucified, she fled and apparently lived here.
My understanding is that when Jesus was crucified, he asked John to take his mother to somewhere safe, and this is it.
It became a World Heritage Site in 2015. It's said that the first church dedicated to the Virgin Mary is actually here. This is where we are, and it's originated in 431 AD. I can actually hear a service going on now, so we won't be able to do too much talking, but we'll film it, share it, and then chat to you guys in a minute.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
So that was a very interesting quick stop there to go and have a look at apparently the first Church of the Virgin Mary. We couldn't film inside. Outside they had a photograph on display showing the church, but definitely a thought-provoking place to have a wander around. Very peaceful. To think that the Virgin Mary apparently used to live here.
Yeah, it was very atmospheric, wasn't it? And very emotive. And the chapel was so like cozy and small, and all the different brickwork and stonework. Really
old.
Wow, we've arrived at the Celsius Museum.
No, library.
Library, bugger.
3, 2, 1, back in the... Why have you got a cat on your shoulder?
I don't know. I was leaning on the post and the cat has decided that I'm a pirate. And it's a parrot.
Rawr.
Grr.
So we're walking back up to Trudy, and there's a wheelchair sign on this hill. I have to be honest, I don't think you'd want to go down this hill on a wheelchair.
Nope.
Would you?
No, in fact I said to Chris as we walked up, we need to watch out for spinning out of control wheelchairs.
Leave Marianne alone.